Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and trends from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm excited to have you join me today. We're going to start with a fascinating story that takes us on a journey through the complex history of trade relations between Canada and the United States. For decades, the two nations have been trying to navigate their economic partnership, with periods of free trade and protectionism ebbing and flowing like the tides. From the Reciprocity Treaty of 1854 to the modern-day agreements like NAFTA and USMCA, the relationship has been marked by moments of cooperation and contention. Our story today takes us back to the mid-19th century, when the first Reciprocity Treaty was signed, allowing for the free exchange of goods between the two countries. The agreement had a profound impact on the economy of British North America, with trade skyrocketing from $18.9 million to $42.8 million in just 1 year. However, as we often see in politics, the tide turned, and the treaty was eventually revoked by the United States in 1866. This led to a series of protectionist policies on both sides of the border, with Canada introducing its national policy under Prime Minister Sir John A. Macdonald. While this policy had its supporters at the time, many economists now argue that it stifled competition, raised prices, and hindered economic growth in Western Canada. Fast forward to the 20th century, and we see a similar pattern emerging. The United States, under President William Howard Taft, negotiated a new reciprocity treaty with Canada, only for it to be rejected by Canadian voters who were in an anti-American mood at the time. The Great Depression brought another shift, with the United States introducing protectionist tariffs, followed by a gradual move towards freer trade under President Franklin Roosevelt. It's clear that the history of Canada-US trade relations is complex and multifaceted, influenced by a mix of economic, cultural, and political factors. As we continue to navigate the challenges of globalization and bilateral trade agreements, it's essential to understand the lessons of the past and approach these issues with a nuanced and informed perspective. We'll be exploring more of this story in future segments, but for now, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're halfway through our show today, and I'm excited to dive into our next story. As we've been following the developments in Russia and Ukraine, there have been some significant updates worth discussing. The European Union has imposed new sanctions on Russia, targeting its energy sector and financial institutions. This move is aimed at limiting Russia's ability to fund its military operations in Ukraine. The sanctions also include restrictions on Russian imports and exports, which could have a significant impact on the country's economy. In related news, Russia's Gelendzhik Airport, located on the Black Sea coast, has reopened after being closed for over 3 years due to airspace restrictions imposed during the conflict with Ukraine. The airport received its first commercial flight last Friday, marking an important development for the region's tourism industry. Meanwhile, Russian tech giant Aeroflot has announced plans to resume flights to several international destinations, including those in the Middle East and Asia. This move is seen as an effort to boost Russia's aviation sector, which has been severely impacted by Western sanctions. It's worth noting that these developments are complex and multifaceted, with various stakeholders involved. As we continue to monitor the situation, it's essential to consider different perspectives and potential implications. The reopening of Gelendzhik Airport, for instance, could have both positive and negative effects on the local economy and residents. On one hand, it may bring in much-needed revenue from tourism and create jobs. On the other hand, it could also lead to increased congestion and strain on local resources. As we strive to provide a balanced view of these events, we'll continue to follow the story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. As we wrap up today's show, we're taking a look at some of the top stories making headlines around the world. From Asia to global issues, we're covering it all. First off, let's talk about the discovery of a sunken World War II Japanese warship, the Teruzuki, found off the coast of Solomon Islands. This historic find is a significant reminder of the sacrifices made during wartime and the importance of preserving our history. The ship was discovered by a team of researchers and is believed to have been sunk in 1942. Moving on to more current events, we're seeing severe weather conditions affecting parts of South Korea. Torrential rains have pounded the country for 3 days, resulting in at least 4 deaths, thousands of evacuations, and widespread destruction. The government has issued warnings of landslides and flooding, and President Lee Jae-myung has called for a stronger response to disaster prevention and relief efforts. In Japan, food banks are struggling to secure rice and other essential items due to inflation and decreased donations. This shortage is having a significant impact on vulnerable populations, particularly ahead of the upper house election on Sunday. Nonprofit groups are urging politicians to take effective measures against poverty and address the growing economic gaps in the country. As we look at these stories, it's clear that there are many complex issues at play. From historic discoveries to current events, it's essential to approach each topic with nuance and understanding. At Barbara's Bulletin, we strive to provide fair and balanced reporting, avoiding bias and giving our listeners a comprehensive view of the world. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.